はい、そしたら始めていきたいと思います。皆さんお忙しい中、お時間を取っていただきましてありがとうございます。今回のSEA テックトークスの企画を担当させていただいてます、JSIP 運営の中村と申します。それから今日は私と一緒にコホストということで、柳沢が、はい、一緒にですね、務めさせていただきますのでよろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
はい、そしたらちょっと今、順次、皆さんにご参加いただいているところではありますけれども、お時間も限られてますので、早速始めさせていただきたいと思います。よろしくお願いします。ちょっと初めにですね、今日初めてだよという方も、いらっしゃるかもしれないので、簡単にちょっとですね、企画のご紹介をさせていただけたらと思いますので、ちょっと画面を失礼します。はい、そしたらちょっと企画説明の方を柳沢さんの方からよろしくお願いします。
はい、SEA テックトークス、Powered by JSIP エコシステムパートナーズという名前でやっているんですけれども、毎週金曜日の昼に東南アジアで活躍する VC からゲストをお招きして、プロの目線からの当地のスタートアップテックの現状について対談形式で深掘りするシリーズとしてやっています。で、今回は、第 4回目というふうになっています。はい。今回はちょっとお休みになって、明日が祝日なので、木曜日、イレギュラーでやっていますが、はい、インドネシアからゲストをお招きしております。はい。今回のゲストは、インド人から、チャンドラ・フィルマントさんをお招きしており、ちょっと英語でやらせていただいております。よろしくお願いします。
はい、ありがとうございます。ちょっとポイントだけ今、柳沢さんからもありましたけれども、これ JSIP の企画ですけれども、我々のエコシステムパートナーと呼んでいるですね、いろんな、ベンチャーキャピタルの方々、あるいは、アクセラレーターの方々のご支援をいただいてやらせていただいてます。で、今日はちょっと、変則で木曜日ですが、基本的には金曜日のお昼やってます。はい、ということで、ぜひぜひ、面白かったと思っていただけたらですね、今後も参加いただけたらというふうに思います。はい、そしたら早速、中身の方に入っていきましょう。ここからちょっと英語でお送りさせていただきますけれども、なるべくゆっくり喋るようにですね、チャンドラーにはお願いをしてますんで、大丈夫かなと思います。で、もし気になることがあればですね、チャットの方に日本語でご質問いただいても構わないですし、最後に Q&A の時間も設けてますので、その時には手を挙げていただいて、英語でも日本語でもどちらでも構いませんので、ご質問いただければと思います。Okay, Chandra, thanks for waiting. We're now switching back to English and starting this program. So thank you so much for joining us today. Where are you joining from today?
Thank you, Takagi-san. I'm actually joining from West Borneo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, 皆さん、こんにちは。よろしくお願いします。
お願いします。
よろしくお願いします。Okay, first of all, I think you are pretty well known, but maybe some of our participants today maybe はじめまして. So would you mind quickly introducing yourself, your background, and a bit about Indonesian Capital?
Sure. Thank you, Takagi-san. Yeah, it's an honor to actually to join today. Thank you to you and your team as well for this wonderful event. So a bit about myself. My name is Chandra Firmanto. Actually, I was born in Borneo Island. That's why I came back to the hometown, Italy, right now. So actually born in Pontianak, actually very close to Singapore. If we have a direct flight, probably only like 35 minutes flight.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's very close. That's right.
It's very close.
Exactly. So actually born here. I went to until high school. I was like in Borneo, but family expanded business to, of course, Jakarta. And eventually I went to university in States. I went to USC, I spent time there. Then I also a fellow Accenture alums. After my USC time, I worked for Accenture in LA. After that time, then I came back for good and then handled the family business. So my family business actually connected with many Japanese corporations. So we distribute motorcycles for Yamaha, also distribute Dunlop tires for Sumitomo as well, because Dunlop is Sumitomo, right? And then we also have a multi-finance company. We also a shareholder in Busan Auto Finance, which is a joint ventures between Yamaha Mitsui and Mitsui Bussan, and of course these main dealers of Yamaha. I also helped the company to expand, where we actually went into property, we went into hotel franchises as well, and also like small regional banks. And from there, then in 2015, actually moved to become the chairman. I was the group CEO from 2010 to 2015, but I think I need new challenge, so I decided to let me put myself to become the chairman, and then the company can be run by full professionals. Then I started Indogen Capital back in 2016. So 2016, I started Indogen Capital, but because of the entrepreneurial backgrounds and also with the, I think, traditional business background, from the beginning, we do not like to invest in, like too early startups. So we usually will see how they progress, and then usually in the, say, pre-series to B, right, depends on their readiness, then we will be able to help them to connect to the traditional corporations. That has been our staple. So our strength is actually in helping them to gain tractions, and we work very closely with the founders. I know many VCs say that, but in our cases, we have direct contacts to C-level of the traditional corporations. And usually the way that we operate, we will do the heavy lifting first. We'll spend time with the company's C-levels. We identify their pain points and their needs, and we don't like to force connections. So meaning that if there is no connections can be done with that startups, then unfortunately, let's find other connections. Because some startups usually will come to me and say that, oh, I want to be connected, say, to Sumitomo or maybe to Yamaha. But come on, like if Yamaha has no needs with your startups, then I don't want to force the connections. So the most important point is to identify. You don't just blankly introduce everyone, because it will become very painful for all parties as well.
Absolutely.
And then especially for Japanese, you guys are very polite, right? So like you'll be like, you don't want to do it, but okay, I'm like forced to have this dinner with Chandra-san and maybe listen to him, but actually I don't need it. So the way that I operate is totally different. The way that I operate is usually I will be close to the C-levels, then I will try to understand their needs, and based on the needs, then we can do the introductions. So meaning that we need more and more corporations into our ecosystems. Now we are working with Jababeka, which is one of the largest industrial town in Southeast Asia. We also work with, for example, like Kawan Lama, retailers groups, Ace Hardware in Indonesia. We also have Banpu Energy from Thailand. So not only in Indonesia, but also all over Southeast Asia. And what we do the best, I think, is we happy to help not just foreign startups, but also foreign corporations interested to the Indonesian market. Because I think if we can bring these corporations to come and then look at the opportunity in Southeast Asia and in Indonesia, then we will be able to create like kind of like successful maybe JV or collaboration with everyone. So that's pretty much what we have been doing. We also do very close partnership with Jetro. With Jetro, we have been the only VC partners for the last 2 years. We just successfully held a big event in Tokyo, actually 2 weeks ago. So we set up 2 things. Number one is we brought about 20 listed companies from Indonesia, the IDX listed companies. All of them have captive market opportunity. If any of the participants today interested to find out more, I'll be able to share. Right. So captive market, they are looking for their own existing business and just looking for partners to execute whatever that they already have. All these 20 listed companies carefully selected by IDX, meaning that share performance very good. They constantly pay dividends, very important for Japanese corporation as well.
For sure.
And yes, and then they also already like showing that they in full compliance also, which is also very important for Japanese corporations.
Absolutely.
From the Japan side, we brought about 200 corporations looking to maybe doing a joint ventures, invest, and a couple of them also startups, because all these corporations, they have several needs as well, like for example, cyber security, then we try to match them. So it's based on the corporate needs again. So the corporation themselves is the one that's saying that, oh, maybe I can find cyber security solutions from Japan, because we cannot work with the Israeli companies, unfortunately, right? So that's why we prefer to go with Japan. Then okay, so I brought them and then met several of the solution as well. So there are a couple of things not related to corporations, but also with tech companies. And then the second things we did, actually, we set up the bridge between JPX and IDX. IDX has been thinking about maybe doing a better collaboration with JPX, maybe even like doing the dual listing. So this all Indonesian company maybe can do some kind of businesses, and then I can actually do dual listing to Tokyo market. So that is the one that we are forging right now. I know it's a long process. So the first process, we went there, we formally invited them to come to Jakarta. So the JPX team hopefully can visit Jakarta on September, working on that. But yeah, you know, these kind of things usually will take about 6 months, even 1 year. I'm very used to that. And like the good news is the CEO of IDX, Pak Iman Rahman, actually his brother went to university in Japan, his father as well. Okay, so that's why he very accustomed to that already. So he said that no issue for me. So I already explained to him that, okay, you know, the reality is like this. Okay? So that is also another thing that we can do. So I will able to explain the pain points, right? So I would say that, yeah, working with Japanese, you should expect that they need more time because they are very careful, just like getting married for them. So it's difficult to maybe to break apart, like once you have forged the relationship.
Yeah, true.
But once they have like made the commitments, they'll be very loyal.
That's a very good point. Chandra, I think I have to stop you because there are a lot of information to digest.
Yes.
I think one interesting topic could be family business, but maybe we can keep that aside for the next session.
Sure.
Also, the connection between JETRO and the Tokyo Stock Exchange is also super interesting. But I think that could be for the third session.
Of course.
So today, we'd like to focus on startups and VC. Maybe you could share a bit more about Indogen Capital's investment thesis, like in what stage you invest, how many companies you invest, your fund size and the sectors you like, etc. So could you cover that a bit?
Sure. Yeah. So we are, because like we are very opportunistic, like I mentioned before, we usually will try to help the startups first to see whether they can execute really well before we actually decided to invest. So that's why we have to be sector agnostic. But of course, we look for particular sectors, the hot sectors, the one that have the most M&As, the most maybe IPO, most investors maybe flocking there. So we look for every sectors, but at this moment, of course, we have to realize that Southeast Asia is a consumer market products. I mean, like consumer market base. Sure. So we look for mostly consumer market startups. Okay, the B2B is kind of like challenging because Indonesian corporations, they not very high tech, so they tend to be, and the human resources is also affordable. So they try to be as I will say frugal as possible. Okay, so that is the reality. So we our strategy has been always been helping first, and after that, then we force relationship with the founders. Then the founders can see when they work with us whether it's also worthwhile for them or not. So if it's worthwhile for them, then of course they will allow us to come in because at this, I feel like this time of the, I mean like in the investment landscape, it's very difficult to get into the, I mean like well-performing startups into the capital because all the VCs actually trying to invest into the same startups because there are limited amount of startups that not being impacted by whatever happening from the weakening, I think like tech ecosystems in US and North America. So because of that, then you can see that all the VCs are trying to invest into the same startups. So that's why we try to differentiate ourselves by providing the help. Then after that, then prove our worth. Then after that, then maybe we can be actually accepted into the family.
Thanks. In what stage do you start investing?
Pre-series A to B.
Pre-series A to B.
We are very opportunistic, so we don't look at the stage. If there is an opportunity to invest, let's say, and then they can give us the, like maybe easy 3x, 5x, and maybe even already like Series C, just going for IPO, we can do that as well. Check size, we write about between 500K to 2 million.
I see. Yeah, as you mentioned, I think Series A's in Southeast Asia is becoming extremely crowded. And
very crowded. That's right.
Yeah, the best startups are well known already. Everyone wants to invest, so it's very hard to get in, isn't it?
Yeah, and then the worst of all is they don't know the failure of the foreign company. So some foreign company, they come in, they have a CVC, they want to invest, but they have difficulty to find allocations. I've met several like very high profile, prominent Japanese corporations, but they have difficulty even to get into any of the allocations. The reason is because, of course, they have difficulty to explain their failure. And then the founders, okay, the well-funded startups, the founders, they avoid meeting VCs already. Because at this stage, they even have difficulty to divide the allocations internally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, many cases like that. And then you just look into the news and suddenly then they just close the round. You never even heard about when did they start fundraising? We haven't heard about it. See, exactly. So those startups, even in one of our portfolio company, we just taking turn to lead the investments. Okay, this is now your turn. That's your turn, because nobody wants to share. Basically, that is the reality. So that's why it's becoming more and more challenging for foreign companies, especially foreign VCs as well, to come in and trying to invest, unless you have been like quite or very formidable in Southeast Asia in the last maybe 5 to 7 years, right?
Do you have any general advice to Japanese corporates who want to invest in a good Indonesian or Southeast Asian startup?
Okay, so you can maybe one of the key points, maybe you can you can invest in one of the VCs. So if you invest in one of the VCs, then of course they will kind of like have to help you to find allocations, right? So there is one of the strategy. Another thing is you need to have a strong local partners. If you don't want to invest in VCs, maybe you have a strong local partners that will be able to explain about the value of your VCs, right? Number 3 is I think you maybe make a splash. Maybe you invested into early stage, and after that, then once you started from the early stage, then you will be able to get maybe a few well-performing startups. Then the other way around, then you can actually set up the rounds, then get all the local VCs actually to actually be actually the one that asking you for allocations. Then you can actually ask them for return of favors, right? So a couple of things, but I don't think that it's like dead end for everyone. Is you can actually find your ways, and I'm very happy maybe if any of you guys actually interested to find out more, they are happy to give you the maybe recommendations, because everyone have different strengths. So based on your strength, then the recommendation will not be the same. Okay. That's
very true. Yeah. On the surface, VCs look similar. If you visit their websites, it's hard to tell how different they are. But
yes,
if you dig in, they are very, very different, I think, from a strategy perspective or an operational perspective. So yeah, Chandra, maybe I'll connect you with someone who is interested to, hear your opinions.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thanks. Maybe I'm asking too many questions.
No.
So I'll turn it to Noriko. I guess she would have a lot of questions to ask you.
Yeah, like you said, and previously you said when you when you build a relationship with the Japanese corporates, they will be loyal, but it takes a little bit of time. But there is no real shortcut, I understand. But if you would advise any any large corporates who would want to enter Indonesia, looking for a partner would be very difficult. So how would you advise them to get a good partner in the region?
Just find me, because I'll be able to introduce you to the good people.
People,
Very
yeah.
important, right? Because I also set up, I mean, like for me, I spent about maybe 10 to 15 years to forge relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I've met my dose of bad people as well, right? And then so I have met a circle of good people. I mean, like that actually have been like working very closely with me for many years, so I can forge on their characters,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the people that once they said that okay, I'm committed, then they stay committed. The people that are going to backstab you, basically, right? And they come from various industries.
Mm.
Also being helped with the rich community of former Trojans or former USC. So there are so many business people actually went to USC in Southeast Asia. That is how amazing it is. And I'm actually very active in the alumni networks as well. So at this moment, then about 2,400 business owners, medium to big size
Wow.
corporations owners actually be part of the community already.
I see.
So it's actually very easy. Whatever that you need, then we can actually just reach out to the community group and then check on the background of this guy, right? Because the other people will know him. If I don't know him, because it's impossible to know all the 2,400 people, but I will be able to check on the background of the characters. So the good news is the business community in Indonesia is not big, because about 10-15% of the population control about 90% of the wealth. That's why our GDP is low. Our GDP is low because
it's concentrated.
when you average it, then become low. But the reality is, if you just take the numbers of the 15% of people from Indonesia, but it's still massive because we have 275 people in Indonesia, right? 275 million people. So if you take the 15%, then suddenly, they're not so massive anymore, and we kind of like can find the information from our surroundings.
I see. And you said there are some like hot areas or industries. Could you share a little bit about your hot topics or your hot regions that you're looking into?
Yeah, so it will be different between startups and of course with traditional business. So let's talk about startups first. So startups, of course, we look at because at this moment everyone's shifting towards revenue and profitability.
Yes.
So you need to be able to get profit, which is a good thing. I love it because I come from traditional background, right? So if you look at the way to make profit in Indonesia, again, I mentioned before that we are a consumer-based market. So meaning that you can get easy revenue if you serve the customers. So we are looking at maybe e-commerce and the extension of the e-commerce services. For example, like logistic solutions, right? We also look for aquatech, for example, doing export market, agri-tech, also serving import and export market. Because again, the GDP has been rising in Indonesia, so more and more people demand quality products, and more people able to travel to Japan now, for example, right? That's why I'm sorry as well that we crowded out your country as well. Indonesia is one of the people that make Japan become crowded. Even me, when I was there last week, I was like, oh my God, too many tourists. I can feel you guys. Even for me, like too many tourists. Need less tourists, right? So because Japan is becoming more affordable for Southeast Asian people, so that's why more and more of them traveling there, and they just need one visit. Once they have the one visit, they want to come back again. Happened with my team members. It was the first time for them to visit Japan. I gave them, of course, many recommendations. They went there and they love it. Immediately, they also want to return. See, and because of that, there are more demands of Japanese products, right? That's why you have Don Quixote in Singapore. Damn, I'm jealous. I need one in Indonesia as well, right? But the importations regulation is difficult. I understand as well why it's not happening. So there are limitations, of course, in Indonesia compared to other Southeast Asian countries because every country is not the same. But there are so many ways to work around the regulations. Okay, so in the case of the hotness, anything related to consumer products where you can easily get revenue and profitability, I think will be a fair game, right? Even as simple as, let's say you are like say for traditional business, you are an omiyage company. Then you want to maybe expand your business because we are been very successful. Let me just name a very famous one like Tokyo Banana or something.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, Tokyo Banana, I want to expand to Indonesia. Oh, you guarantee will be very successful. If I just need to pair you with a brand, maybe from Indonesia that can produce locally, can be a good partners for you, then you can immediately start your business. Very simple, right? So it's really not that difficult. Already happening with Otsuka Pharmacies with actually what is the drink name? Pocari Sweat. Yes. Yeah. Pocari Sweat is not that well known in Japan. I know that, right? But in Indonesia, it's massive. It's massive now, and that's why now Oronomasi are also expanding, and then now they're doing massive marketing, also doing pretty good already now at this moment. So there are so many other opportunities like Calpis, for example, my favorite drink. I love Calpis. So why don't they expand, right? They started one time, but I mean they found bad partners, then they stopped expanding. So any of you that related to Calpis, please find me. I'll help you to expand because that's my favorite drink.
Yeah, today I was talking with my friend and he told me that his company is kind of avoiding to invest in Indonesia, and the reason is because they failed 30 years ago because they met a bad partner. So the senior management remember this, and then they have a very bad memory, so they refuse to do it. But I think that shouldn't be the case. If they can meet you and you can introduce the right partner, then things will change. So
yeah, just like marriage, right? Can be good partners for me, but probably not for you. So we need to introduce several candidates for you to choose. So the key point is I cannot just introduce one person. So I can introduce a couple candidates, then you can choose. So when you choose, then you will be able to find the right fit with your culture, because I don't understand your culture as well. It's very important for two things. Number one, setting you guys up with the right people. Number two, finding people that understand and maybe a good fit for your culture.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe the last question from the hosts, and then we will open it to the floor. How do you see the startup ecosystem changing in the next 3 years or 5 years? It could be in Indonesia or Southeast Asia.
I think let's say in general first, North America, let's say even East Asia. Now everyone's like adjusting the valuation, which is a good thing because before it was like ridiculous. So I'll be the first to say that it's ridiculous. So that's why now I think just returning back to normal. So if people say that, oh, it's not good now, the startup, investment is not good. It's actually good now because the reality is the valuation, you can justify it. Then when you look at Southeast Asia, right? Southeast Asia actually was just starting to get ridiculous, but not that ridiculous yet. During that time, valuation was like rising, but still at the maybe 1/5 or 1/4 of US, even more. So because of that, then it's not that kind of like a big drop for us. Okay, and then around that time as well, we could see the startups that actually will become the winner for its category. So of course there will be category winners. So they were fighting. They have different strategies, but now we can already like reshaping and see who are going to be the category winners. And the interesting fact, there are a couple startups that can actually be winners from each category. Also very interesting fact. Why? Because now for everyone focusing on revenue and profitability. And once they can hit the cash flow positive, they actually don't really need investments anymore. So when they don't need investment, they can focus on actually doing the kind of like the big businesses, eventually can get listed or maybe even acquired. And the M&A opportunity in Southeast Asia, I think, is the one that going to be a game changer as well, because of the valuation of the startups. The valuation of the startups, for example, like some of the waste management startups, for example, some of them actually at a very, very affordable valuations, like 10 million, 20 million US dollars valuation. So can be easily like maybe acquired by big corporations. For example, one of our LPs like Banpu Energy as well, very interested, and they at least scoring down, looking down. So we are helping them at this moment. So there'll be that kind of opportunity as well. So you don't have to exit through IPO. And then IPO market in Indonesia has been very good as well, steadily increasing, because the young generations actually transitioning very well to become investors. So they like to become investors because of the help from, let's say, JSIP, the stock traders apps as well, stock trading apps like JSIP, and then Stockbit as well. Couple more. I'm sorry, I just remember the leaders, right? And then yeah, you can see that actually transitioning really well. And then I think it will be helped by maybe foreign companies, corporations looking to maybe get more revenue at least from foreign markets, because I think our region, Southeast Asia, we have two things going on. Three things. Number one is we have very young populations. Average median age across Southeast Asia is about 28, 29 years old. Only old population is Singapore, 40 or 41. Second is we have massive numbers of population, about 550 millions across Southeast Asia. And then once you successfully, let's say, enter Indonesia or Singapore, it will not be that challenging actually to let's say enter Vietnam, Thailand, and Philippines, because quite similar, right? You guys realize that as well. And then number three, I think the GDP has been steadily increasing. And with very, very stable, I think, like political situations where we don't actually align with any of the blocks, right? So politically, we try to stay neutral. So that is also another key points. So if you look at the potentials from this region, I really think that every maybe country, especially Japan, because why? Because Japan is actually one of the favorite country for Southeast Asia, Southeast Asian people. You guys are regarded as had a maybe higher status compared to, let's say, I don't want to name the other countries, but higher status, right? So meaning that if you want to come, you actually be given red carpet. That's why I like so pity with your friends that saying that, okay, we try to avoid because 30 years ago we failed. I'm sorry, during that time, I would not recommend you to invest in Indonesia as well, because I remember that time as well. It was during the Suharto time, political uprising, many bad people as well that close to the governments. That of course you get like a swindle and maybe trick, and that's why you get bad memory. But it's totally different now.
That's great, and it's super encouraging. Thanks, Chandra. Okay, I think we have one question from the audience. Thanks for the question, Shige. Maybe Chandra, you can open the chat. So one question: I personally think the consumer brands in Japan have potential to go global. And at the same time, I realized some of the vertical e-commerce in Southeast Asia are really interested in onboarding Japanese brands on their platform. So the question is, what do you think are the typical hurdles for Japanese companies to work with emerging players in Southeast Asia?
I think number one is to find the right partners. This is the part that I can help, because I think, again, I'm not expert for all industries, right? So when you talk about like certain industries, that I need to introduce you to the people that actually came from that industries. So when you talk to them, then you feel comfortable because they understand the regulations, the limitations, and then the regulations or the whatever that needed, let's say licenses and stuff, is actually part of the game as well. So when we help, let's say foreign startups like Fentany, our portfolio company, to expand from Philippines to Indonesia, and I realized as well, founder actually didn't understand the regulations. So I had to explain the regulations. After that, then of course the solution about how to navigate things based on their strength and weaknesses. So this is the part that I think most critical. I think at this moment, if you have a successful products, maybe interesting products, let's say from Japan, that you think that can do well in Southeast Asia, just hook me up, then I'll be able to try to find you the right person to talk with. And once you talk to them, then you'll be very comfortable because, okay, and suddenly all the questions that you have, they will be able to answer easily, even give you the right recommendations right away. But this is one of the area where you can actually maybe select the right partners, because I will able to maybe connect you to 2-3 guys. Then after that, then you'll be able to see which one is actually you are most comfortable with, right?
Yeah, thank you. That's the story that I love. Just for the audience's benefit, Chandra was referring to Ventani, which was founded by a Japanese businessman, Waide-san, and they went IPO on the Indonesia Stock Exchange. And behind the story, Chandra was helping them to get connected with the key members of the stock exchange. Okay, I think we have another question. Thank you, Matt, from Mori Hamada Matsumoto, Singapore. So the question is, in the startup ecosystem in Indonesia, what type of professionals, such as lawyers, would be helpful from your experiences? This is a very specific question as a lawyer. What's your view, Chandra?
Yeah, I think lawyers. I think many of the lawyer firm, right? Let's say if they just operate overseas, they don't have local partners, then it will be difficult to help you. Very simple. So you need to find lawyers that actually have local partners, so they understand the local regulations. But of course, you want to be comfortable, because the key with lawyers is there are so many lawyers for many needs. So you have to find the right lawyer for you, right? So it's not difficult. You just have to try to build a relationship first. I think see the recommendations. When you're comfortable with the recommendation, but just like going to doctors, you cannot just go to one doctor and the doctor say that, oh, you probably need surgery. Then immediately, okay, let's go for surgery, right? It's not going for a cruise. If going for a cruise, then let's do it. Right, this one is, you need to, okay, meet several, see which one is actually most comfortable with you, but most importantly, do they have the right connections in the country?
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, do you have any follow-up questions or comments?
And just want to say thank you to Chandra,
Matt,
for sharing the insights. And it was nice to be introduced to you through Takaki last week already. And
yes.
We have 12 lawyers in Jakarta from Indonesian backgrounds. And then if we have a next chance to see each other in Jakarta, we'd like to meet in person if you're schedules, and looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Great questions, by the way. It's very important to find the right lawyer firm. But I think with your experience, anyone here should maybe reach out to Matt.
Anytime. Thanks.
Great advice. Thank you very much. Okay, we have 3 minutes to go. Any last minute questions or comments from the audience? 何か最後にご質問だったりコメントだったりございましたら、どうぞご遠慮なくご発言かコメントいただけたらと思うんですけど、いかがでしょうか。大丈夫そうですかね。
聞こえますか？
はい、聞こえております。
奥谷です。
奥谷さん、どうもどうも。どうぞどうぞ。
こんにちは。
Hi, Chandra. This is Naoki from Central Singapore.
Yes.
We just communicated in WhatsApp via Takaki-san the other day. So I often deal with the many Japanese corporates who are the big corporates and interested in the business expansion or new business development, but they look into like a APAC or Southeast Asia level ultimately to grow their business. Then in many cases, they look some high potential startups in Indonesia can be the kind of spearhead of expanding their or building their new value proposition and capabilities starting from Indonesia.
That's
So
true.
it's a huge market, but it can be a great actually starting point considering other markets like Vietnam, Philippines, and even broader Asian markets. And they are keen to actually find a partners who have that level of aspiration. So instead of just, I can't say just because Indonesia is huge, but instead of looking to company with the aspiration, the success of Indonesia only, rather looking to the broader APAC or Southeast Asia success. But based on your experience dealing with many startups, do you think that many of promising startup companies are aspire to beyond Indonesia success, or they are more inclined to focus on Indonesia?
Oh, actually, very good questions, Agisan. So many of the Indonesian startups and also the Southeast Asian startups, they are looking for Indonesia because Indonesia have 40% of Southeast Asian populations. So it's very simple, kind of like game. So you start from the big numbers first, 40%. Once you win the market, then you can actually move to the other countries. But of course, let's say in the case of Karsam, because we helped Karsam as well when they expanded to Indonesia. So they won the Malaysia market, they entered Singapore market, they entered Thai market, then they tried to enter Indonesia, but first time was they failed. So they didn't give up. Second time, we arranged for them. They successfully entered the market, won the market, then became unicorn. See, so if they just being present in Malaysia and Singapore, could you see them to be the next? I mean, like the first Malaysian unicorn? Impossible. So the reason why they become unicorn because they won the market. Same for Grab. So Grab, they came from Singapore, actually technically from Malaysia, but because they set up in Singapore, they counted as a Singapore unicorn. They became unicorn because they won the Indonesia market as well, right? Because they were like they didn't win, but I mean like they were in good presence in the Indonesian market. That's why they could become a winner. So meaning that winning the market is essentials. So but after winning the market, again, the Indonesian startups, for example, like Shipper, one of our portfolio company, is now eyeing for the other market as well. Now the next market that they are going to expand is going to be Thailand. You see, right? So everyone have actually have a target, the next target. So impossible for them just winning Indonesian market and stay put. So in the case of Shipper, they need to go to actually Thailand. In the case of Fantony, they have been eyeing to go into Vietnam and Thailand as well. So if any of you are actually interested to collaborate with them, then they're more than happy to connect to you, maybe set up a JV opportunity as well. So you see, right? There are so many opportunities that we can do in this region. So I can actually hook you up with a very well-performing startups, have no issue with funding, already in cash flow positive or maybe even profitable, and with big numbers of cash reserve, and they're just looking to expand. And even when they expand, to raise capital again. So not fair, because they're very easy for them to raise capital. We also have Koala, InsurTech, that also looking for the other regions as well. They have big presence in Thailand, already in Indonesia. Of course, the big businesses right now is still in Indonesia. Now they're going to look for Singapore, Malaysia, and then Vietnam as well, Philippines. So eventually everyone will go everywhere, right? So eventually some of them also will target, like say, Australia as well. So, but it will be a step-by-step process. Most importantly, at this moment, by end of the year, at least all our portfolio is actually targeted to be cash flow positive or profitable. That is most important. Then once we settle with that, then they can expand responsibly. That is the keyword, responsibly.
Yeah, thanks, Chandra. I think that's already giving me a few hints. Sorry, which I wanted to put
ideas, right? So that's why we need to meet. Okay?
Yeah,
we need to catch up.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. Okay.
All right, thanks. I just put in the chat some of the names that were mentioned. Koala, the InsurTech, the Shipper, the e-commerce logistics, and Karsam, the used car marketplace. So we have run out of time. I need to wrap up. Let me just give you some information about the next session. It will be next week, Friday. We are inviting Stephen from Kinesis Group. So Stephen was the early member of Cyber Agent Capital Indonesia. He has been a venture capitalist for more than 11 years, and he was the Shagai Torishimaryaku of Tokopedia, the largest e-commerce platform out of Indonesia. So we'd like to interview him next week to ask about how the Indonesia is changing and how he's interacting with local startups. So yeah, Noriko, thanks for putting the link in the chat. 今、チャットからリンク入れていただきましたので、もしご興味があれば、ぜひ来週もご参加いただけたらと思います。それから今回初めて JSIP のイベント参加したよという方ですね、JSIP こんなことやってて、こんなご支援できますよっていうことを別途個別にもご案内させていただいているので、またメールの方でご連絡差し上げます。もしご興味があればオンラインでお話しさせてください。よろしくお願いします。はい。Okay, so that's the end of today's session. Again, Chandra, thank you so much for saving your time to join us. And we'll definitely invite you for the next session again.
Yes, thank you. And I just want to say that Stephen is a friend of mine as well. You guys should join. He will be able to share many insights, and he's fluent in Japanese. So probably will be a better sessions than mine. So
no way, no way. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day, okay? Bye.
Yeah, have a great weekend. Thank you. 皆さんご参加いただきましてありがとうございました。こちらで失礼いたします。